Hello.
Good afternoon. It's, oh God, I got to get my days together. It is Wednesday.
Yes, Wednesday.
We know it's Wednesday because we're always one person short.
Yes.
So, what we're here today discussing, and you have the mic, right? We're all, you could do the hands?
No, that's Joe just saying I didn't do something different.
It's the stat report, and we're going to be doing Monmouth and Ocean counties. And as everybody says, if you saw like our little Grinch that stole Christmas,
Yes.
did the Fed play the Grinch in terms of home sales and in the last basically month? Like, we're going to be looking at some of the numbers for what Monmouth and Ocean has done. It's a little bit better than probably Staten Island, so we'll get into that in a bit because there's certain things in here that may be pointing to things slower. But I will tell you this, there's a couple of things. Mortgage rates, again, are on the slide. So they're down to 6.5% from 8%. So it's a whole 1.5% down from a month ago, when it was about 8%, or close to 8%. So we're down quite a bit.
Oh.
Yay. Well, I think it's yay for home buyers at the moment. Home sellers, probably, if the trend continues, it's definitely going to be an uptick. We've seen this last year, almost a similar pattern breakout, but I think the rates were quite a bit higher than they were last year. I think they went as high as 7.5% at the same time last year. We saw. If you remember, we did stats. They were down. Like the average sale price was down. Even New Jersey, I think it was down maybe about 1 or 2% from the year before when we did this report for February of last year. So where this is lining up, we're going to see, because I do think that we're going to see a little bit of tailing off. 8% interest rates are definitely going to create, but that doesn't mean Monmouth County has been, so we do a little stat. Monmouth County has been one of the hottest markets in the country. Yeah, it's like New Jersey as a whole is I believe the 5th hottest real estate market in the country. So it still remains, it's robustly a seller's market. There are a couple of things that are on the table for there, and the Airbnb situation on the shoreline. Seaside Heights sees quite a bit of Airbnbs. I've seen recently a lot of the smaller kind of bungalow houses that were rather cheap. They're going on the market more frequently now. So that's something we've talked about. What is Airbnb going to do? Does it create people? Because obviously disposable incomes are down, so the leisure and travel stuff has definitely taken a toll. We'll see what happens with that. But as a whole, I think things have pretty much stayed on course and on track for like at least a pretty stable market. I think slightly better. Now, just as we get into these numbers, I want to make sure everybody understands that this is for both Monmouth and Ocean.
Yes, both of them.
And Ocean County and Monmouth County do not run concurrently when it comes to things. So as a general rule of thumb, when we go into the stats on these things, as you move further south into Ocean County, and as you move, the swing difference in prices, or some of the numbers we talk about, could be profoundly different. So if you are like considering to go into the market, it's something we need to evaluate once we get there on a little bit more narrow scale. But this is general, because we're talking about a pretty large swath of New Jersey here, with Monmouth and Ocean counties being two of the larger counties in the state. So let's go through the numbers and let's see what we have going on. I'm going to put my glasses on. Yes, I hate putting glasses on for camera because I feel
love
like
wearing my glasses.
Yeah?
Yeah, I prefer them sometimes.
When you get older like me, you start hating wearing glasses. It's aging me a bit.
No.
Sitting next to you ages me a bit.
No. I know.
I said, geez, I really do look much older sitting next to you than, well, no.
Okay.
Let's stop there.
All right.
So let's get into those numbers, Keri. What do you
Yes.
have for me as far as questions, and let's get into what we have going on.
Yes. So I want to start off with the days on market. There has been a slight increase year over year from 30 days to 31 days.
Ouch! A full day.
I know.
We're knocking it out of the park
Yeah,
there.
right?
There's nothing like I said. Yeah.
But month over month, there's a decrease of 8.82%.
Yeah.
Days on the market.
Month over month, so it's
Yeah.
actually down a bit, right?
Yes. So
Yeah. So the year and that makes absolutely no sense. No, it does, and I'll tell you why. The average days on the market did shrink a little bit for the houses that do sell. Okay, so I think this is the inventory constraint thing that we've talked about. There's not much on the market currently, and I think what's happening is because there's not much on the market, there's definitely a favorable environment for sellers. Now, I'm going to stress again, I think it's different for people in Monmouth County from places like Ocean County. There is a varying factor here. So I just want to caution, because I think people can take this as being like all things being equal across the board. But which means that there's probably areas that are actually even better than this. So the data will skew one way or another based on how north or south you go in those counties, or through those counties. So I don't see anything there that's alarming, except for the fact that the pressure is really on the seller's favor here for the most part. I'm not saying that that's going to require people, because it comes down to affordability at the end of the day and the pool of buyers that are going to be available to purchase. So I do think the higher end of the market is definitely in Monmouth and Ocean County suffering a little bit more as you get into higher tiers of the market. You're going to see prices where I do think the lower tier of the market is absolutely still very, very robust. Things coming into the 400s, 500s. Just had a townhouse down in Toms River. I mean, a day on the market. Absolutely multiple bids. It's happening. So if your house is really priced in Monmouth County, like anything under 500,000, you're still pretty red hot right now. From what I've seen, that's a personal experience thing. The numbers kind of bear that out here as well, because we're still looking at a couple of numbers that are down on for the positive side as far as leading indicators. So go ahead. That's pretty much, so we're okay there. I mean, I don't think 30 to 31 days, year-over-year difference is about 9% lower days on the market. So actually last year at this time it was worse. And this is where that skew number was coming into a factor when I said last year. So year-over-year, the rates were a little bit higher sooner. So like they jumped up in like October, where this time they've reached a peak in November. So this corresponds to a time when interest rates spiked last year, around the time that this report. So the year-over-year difference of down 8% is probably reflective of the fact that there was a kind of a flash upward in rates a year ago from this time. So it's probably a little bit better, less houses on the market, and it's still robust. I mean, that's really just a healthy number for on the selling side. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see much of a change there. I mean, like any softness showing up is like that's being anything soft, even though it's up a little bit year over year, month over month. It's still in decline, and we're at pretty high rates. So whatever is selling is actually selling pretty good, pretty quickly.
Yes. Well, the month's inventory, there's an increase of 12.61% month over month. So it's at 2.5, and last month was at 2.2.
So yeah, 12%. So that is interesting. So inventory has crept up. So that is interesting, an interesting dynamic. So I do think that with the uptick in inventory, now I talked about the Airbnb situation, and I'm gonna micro analyze that particular thing because that's a 12% increase is notable. So it's a notable increase. I would say it's definitely notable. So that needs a harder look because you talk about 12% increase in months of inventory, which is something that's happened on Staten Island. That is the first sign or the best leading indicator of maybe some weakness ahead. So we saw it on Staten Island. We saw a bit there, and actually this is a little bit higher than there. I believe it was 8% Staten Island, and I believe it's 12 here, and that's a month over month. So that 8% rate is really starting to the rates are going. We're going to see how that bears out. I think you're going to really see the worst of that come in. You're going to see how much. I think the January and February numbers are going to be something to really, really get a hard look at because that's going to give us a real good bead on where those leading indicators are going to wind up. But I would definitely say that this month's inventory could be problematic if it continues at a 12% clip every month from here. It can weigh, but I want to caution it is still extremely low as far as we kind of want to see if that number would correspond with days on the market, and that has not happened. So before I say it's it's a softer sign, it's not a softer result, and we'll watch it. It's something that bears watching, though. It needs to be on the radar. So I think for that one piece, that's where we're at with that. I think it's a thing we need to bear watching.
Yes. Well, I also wanted to bring up, because of the month's inventory, active listings are down 1.70%.
Yeah.
And new listings are actually down 22.50%.
Yeah.
Month over month.
Yeah.
For both.
So we're talking about 22 and a half. So that's where I think, the new listings, where the buoy is for home sellers is that they are seeing that there's not much competition for the houses, which is continuously pushing sales up. But there has been, and we'll probably get into that, there has been a little bit of a decrease in the average sale price in New Jersey. So there is some softness showing in that. So the average sold median sale and the average sale price is down a little bit. So
yes,
which something we haven't seen. So it definitely bears to watch this. There's something. The new listings though being down 22% still is showing. I mean, it shows how frozen the market really is because a 22% slide in month over month difference from a year ago in new listings is that's very significant. I mean, we're talking but when you see new listings coming down and you see 22%, but you see months inventory increasing, these are two things that would not typically correlate in the marketplace. So you wouldn't want to see, that's where it's the softness may be showing itself because it's okay, there is less on the market and there's inventory is staying, months inventory is rising. That means demand is tapering, and we have to watch that because I do think in the coming, look, I'm not going to say anything short of the 8% rate had a drastic impact on real estate. It's going to, as these numbers come in, people will take some pause because I think it's that drastic. When you see the numbers come out for February, people are going to be like, wow, that's a real. And I do think that when the Fed made their pivot, there's some people that were concerned about that being the main problem here. It's what is going, why? They kind of know what we're reading, and they said, look, this is what's happened to the housing market. Because you got to remember, housing corresponds with gross domestic product, and if there was any signaling of a recession, that's would be the biggest part of determining a recession. Housing prices declining overall would definitely show it would be the signal for a recession for sure. So the Fed is understanding like, oh, well, we want a soft landing, is really probably pressing in. If they didn't do the cuts that they did not cuts or plan the cuts, and I do think there's a couple of things that I kind of have a little bit of concern with. That rates, and this is one thing that came up today on my screen, that mortgage applications fell this week. It went up very robustly last week. This week, mortgage applications are down again, even though interest rates have fallen. Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you.
It's okay. You're allowed to sneeze. You're a human being. But the big thing is, what does that mean for you guys? When mortgage applications, I look at mortgage applications and I say, okay, do we have something going on here? Don't we have something going on here? I do think with mortgage applications falling a bit, where interest rates have fallen considerably, I'll watch next week's Mortgage Bankers Association numbers, see what they say, if there's an increase in applications, because rates are going to come down. I wouldn't be surprised by beginning of January rates, the interest rate for housing, for a mortgage, not to be any less than, it may hit closer to 6.25. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think that you could hit 6.25 on mortgages for January, and where mortgage applications show up there is something that I want to watch, because for our own seller's sake, we want to keep a kind of heads up on this. And I speaking of this, I'm starting to be able to do data analysis using AI.
Yes.
I've been playing around with it, so we're actually coming up with some really funny numbers that we could actually do more predictive analysis of markets using artificial intelligence and data like this.
Yes, AI.
Don't worry, we're not replacing you, Keri. You're going to be still reading us the stats.
Yes.
Not a robot.
No, you can't replace me there.
So, what's the next set of numbers? So what's the summary on that? So, the last thing we spoke about, so we keep our listeners.
Active and new listings are down month over month.
22%.
22% new listings are down.
There you go. Ooh. But month's inventory, to get on the previous note, is also up.
Month over month.
Month over month.
12.6%.
Yeah. I think we're going to get some, this is where we're going to get some really good stuff. This is where the juice is. Everybody likes the juicy numbers.
Oh, yeah.
The sale numbers. I know it's coming up soon. I didn't look yet, but I know it's coming up.
So I'm going to bring up the sold medium listings
now.
Go
ahead.
So that's actually up year over year. 8.87%.
Right, so the sold average listing is up. It's actually 10.15, or are you looking at sold median listing? Okay.
Sold medium listing.
So
yes.
8%. So the sold average listing, sold median listing. So basically, those kind of correlate with one another.
Yeah,
so
they're both
10.
up.
Yeah, 10
year over year.
So that's where the prices have come up. So the year-over-year difference is 8%. So I mean, basically, what it's saying is that the sale price at the listing number has come up, like the listed price to the number that's actually selling for is up 8%. Mm-hmm. The sold average listing now is up 10% year over year. Mm-hmm. But there is a little catch to this.
Yeah, what's the catch?
What's the catch? You're probably going to read it. I don't want to give everything away. So then you're going to be saying to me, Anthony, you went ahead of me. And then I'll be like talking about things and be like, okay, we did that topic already. But I do think the sold, so 8%, it's showing health, but I'm going to say this again. One of the things, like, we tend to, so even though, like, the sold median listing price is up, meaning when the house went for sale, it sold at a higher listed price than last year. Mm-hmm. These are trailing indicators. These are like what the market did before. I don't want to say that you should be necessarily looking at this number and saying to yourself, oh, well, this means that the future is going to be absolutely brighter. I'm not saying that it can't be. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that we look at this as being a number to kind of like wrap our heads around, oh, the market's up 8% from last year, that is a picture of the market basically 2 months ago. Where it was 2 months ago, where it is here, and then you want to crunch all these numbers, like those months inventory numbers, the new active listings, the months inventory number being the biggest one, because that's usually where we just kind of create the distinction between seller and buyer's market rests in months inventory. So a month's inventory usually eclipses that 6-month mark. Currently at 2.5, that is very low. It would take quite a bit to get to so that's the volume of sales it takes. Like, we froze the market tomorrow, and everything that's sold off as where the sales are currently in volume would take to sell off all the inventory that's on the market. So that is, again, that's up month over month 12%. Mm-hmm. The sold median, but the sold median listing price is up 8%, and the sold average listing is 10%. So like 9-10%. Now, I wanted to caution people. Again, I'm going to keep repeating this because it's like we're using a bigger geographical scope, and I do think when you hear it on the news, you get too broad of a geographic area. Not all markets behave the same. Mm-mm. So Monmouth County is probably a pretty decent difference between Ocean County. It's just a natural progression that usually happens with metro area markets as you move away from New York City proper. As you go further away, we did a little thing on the whip effect. We did that thing. It's like where the end of the whip is, where prices fluctuate the most. Mm-hmm. So central, where we have the central hub being New York City, and maybe Philadelphia to the south. If those markets, you generally stay a little bit more stable. But if there's any, if they go up 2% or down 2%, they're going up 10% or up 10% north or south on a 2% movement in a locality. So be cautious when we use these numbers, because if you go further south into Ocean County, the results could be substantially different than if you're going into northern fringes of Monmouth County. It's the way it works. So, again, individuals would really need to sit down and discuss specifically, because it's such a big county, about what their particular market offers up. But that's where we're at. What do you got for me next?
Is. The sale to list price ratio has slightly increased year over year from 99% to 105%.
Okay, so last year, yeah. So
it's up 60.
It's up 100.5. That's just a little bit, a shade over a half a percent. So, yes, November last year was, again, we are looking at, this is where things are going to get skewed, and I hate to say this. I look at this and we look at November. November last year was notoriously sluggish because of our recent. So as this data, where you're going to see the stark differences is when we start getting into because in New Jersey, month over month, you're going to see the real differences in April and May of last year. Of this, when we get into April, May of this year, you're going to see the numbers compared to this year. They will be substantially different.
Yeah.
So I do think you're going to see this is going to be instead of being 99 last year, where the market really softened up a bit, interest rates again peaked up. I think it hit at 6.7, 6.75, 7, close to 7% interest rate last year for a period of about a month, and you could really the sound got deafening. it's a deafening silence when the rates go up that high that you pay attention. But where we are with the current situation is we're using that number from last year, and we're coming off a rather hot fall, and it's settling down. So when you see those numbers coming up, it'll be different. I'm going to tell you that these numbers they look pretty good, but I have some advanced data that I know it's going to come out, and you're going to look at this thing and say, "Oh goodness, the 8% rates really took a chunk out of the market." Because I do think that you will see. So it's at 100. So the average sale to list price is at 100.5. Now I want to caution people again that is not every area, and that's for what does sell. So let's be cautious. I'm not saying it's beyond amazing to say that people are basically still selling at list prices or regular at 2 months ago. I'm telling you now, though, it's not going to be in the next report. I will bet this iPhone on it. So if anybody wants to challenge me to that, you could take my iPhone, because I do believe that number is going to be. You're going to see it definitely come down from what these numbers are this year. So there's some other advanced data that I could tell you it's not. These numbers are not going to correlate to 100.5 on the sale to list price ratio. That will decrease probably substantially in the next 2 months. You're going to see that really take.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, it's not normal to accept that should not be anytime you say houses selling 100%, 100 or over, this number was at 105. So I mean, during like 2021, some part of 2022, the number was 105% of list was the average. It settled down to like 100, so we're like 5% lower on that. So you're not getting the multiple offer situation, bidding wars, and not in every situation. But I'm going to tell you, it's definitely going to be, down. You're going to see, I think, based on some of what I've seen historically and what I'm seeing now, I'm going to be surprised if that comes down to maybe 97, a full 3 percentage points down in the next report or the report following. So I definitely think that the sale to list price ratio will take. The Fed will definitely do its work in creating interest rates that in a restrictive environment. But the interesting thing is this isn't broken down by price range. And I do think by price range, if you're still in the under 500 range, you're in a competitive market, and you still could be bidding 100, and you could still be doing multiple bidding wars. Be careful, because I think using some data and using it as a broad sword to figure out everything out. And like if I told everybody here today, the average sale to list price is down to 97, the same price segment is not going to experience the same thing either. So I still think that houses like under 500,000, as a comparatively speaking, even on the townhouse side in New Jersey, are getting maybe upwards of 105. Where maybe some of the larger, more expensive houses are giving a far bigger discount based on the volume of sales in that area, which is probably where it's most likely these rates are going to impact most, is at the higher price range of the home value. So that's where we are with that. So let's get on to the next thing.
Yes. Let's talk about the new average listings.
Right.
Year over year, that's up 13.19%. Yes.
13.2%.
Yeah, 13.2.
I love how you're so detailed. She actually gets down to the tenth of the percent.
Yes, the exact number.
No switching it up here.
No.
So,
no.
But this is for what?
The new average listings.
It's down, correct? Month up.
No, it's actually up both year over year and month over month.
On the new, The new average listing is
Yeah.
okay. So basically, what it's saying is people are losing sight of like what's going on. So I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, to say that like the new average listing is going up at 13% month over month, it's increased to 1.37%, and the other, we'll get into those because the pending average listing is down. So some of the leading indicators are not falling in line with the new active. So the new, so people are, so what this is indicating to me is that people are rising the prices on their listed houses month over month by 1.37, which is falls in line with the year over year number. So people are, it seems like month over month, people are ahead of themselves by about 1%, a little about 1.33%. On the new, so they're listing it a little bit higher each month, so it correlates with the 13% year over year number. So people are still they're pricing their houses as if it's an accelerating market.
What do you have to say about that?
It's this is something we deal with in real estate. It's very rare that at times like these you can go through history and people just don't have the ability to say, well, rates are going to be down from here. I mean prices and values are going to be down from here. So most people, when they do comparables, they average out on the positive side. So they'll probably say, oh, look, if we put a 3% like buffer between what you want, we'll be okay. And that's so as this number gets further out of line, you see bigger price cuts. And I think when you go into this report doesn't reflect it, but how many price cuts were made in some of these sales is definitely going to be indicative of that sale to list price ratio. So this is not one of the better signs. It means that the market is kind of still, people are pricing things on the increase, even though everything else, the leading indicator shows to be increase. Shows to be like home buyer interest is decreased in this time frame. It's natural. There's nothing unusual about that. I do think that people shouldn't think anything worse of what the situation is because prices they're pretty stable here overall. But they are down a bit, right? Month over month. You haven't even gotten to the prices yet.
No, I haven't even gotten to the prices.
Well, that's what the exciting part of this whole report is.
Yeah, I was waiting.
Just waiting.
Okay, so let's talk about that. The sold average sale and sold medium sale, they're actually both down month over month.
Dun, dun, dun.
Da, da, da. Yes.
The trees are blowing. The mornings, yeah. So, this is their first report. The pending average listing is also down.
Yes, 3.89. Or
so, I mean, the prices of the houses that people actually have contracts on are lower than they were from the previous month. Although they're up 7% from the previous year, but they're down. So that's a good leading indicator to say interest rates. Now, I'm going to say this. It's going to look like, based on what I'm seeing now, what the curve is going to look like, it's going to kind of like belly downward for the next couple of months because the 8% rates are definitely going to impact what we're seeing here. Okay? So before everybody gets all the market's going down.
Crazy.
Yeah, like this. Some people think the pending average of 3% is probably month over month is probably significant. That's pretty significant number there. It's not something for sales you want to see is almost a 4% decline in the pending average. This is houses that are in contract, the ones that based on the price that they're listed at. People are purchasing lower priced housing. So the things that are in contract are actually on the lower end of the spectrum by 3% month over month. That's pretty stark. So if it's 7% for the year and 3% for the month, that's like a pretty decent drop there for 1 month. which is, and then you did the sold median sale price, which is down 2%. So that month over month.
Yeah.
So prices have actually shown that have come down a bit, month over month. So, but I mean they're up 10% for the year, so it's basically an increase of 8%.
Yeah.
If you kind of take it, so almost 3% down. The sold median sale, sold average is 2.62, basically in line with that. So there's a 2% decline in the average sale price, according to this month over month. It's still 10%. Now, that's not to say, people are going to skew that your house is worth less last year than it is year by that. No, it's up 10%. So prices have settled back to 8%. So basically, you're still, from a year ago, if you're taking that number, what we're looking at is if we develop a trend. So if that continues at 2.9, I do think that is not out of the question that based on, it's the first sign that a trend may develop for a period of maybe 3 months or 4 months where you see declining prices a bit here, because some of the other parameters are showing weakness. So, I'm going to have to put that in my data analysis set and see what it comes up with.
Yes.
My handy dandy, my alter brain that does this quickly. But it definitely looks like prices have come down a little bit month over month. Where this leads us, because when we kind of balance this all out, not to say, I have to look at this harder, because when we report on these, it's like I got to really focus, because I don't want people to like freak out or anything like that. Yeah. Because I want to make sure I'm getting this data out correctly. But it's noticeable. So if you're on the market and you see things like, but I'm going to tell you something, New Jersey. If you move into another state or even within the state, if you sell, let's just say you're selling now, if you're in a declining market, and there is a declining market, you're going to do better everywhere else, because the state is done so well, so well as compared to most of the states in the country. So if you sold today and you want to buy somewhere else, this is not the worst time in the world to do that, because the prices, I do think, in other there's going to be some places, and there's already started some places that have been on the decline. So we're really looking at that and saying, hey, if the prices are declining right now in other states, because like I said earlier, New Jersey is the 5th, or in the top 5 most appreciated markets in the country. Oh. So it's held its own amongst most of the country, which is not experiencing the same growth rate. But I think some people boast that into a sign of overconfidence, and I think that could be mistaken right now. But what I really need to caution here is that the market is extremely rate sensitive. So if the market ticks up by, I think it's full on. If we really hit, my baseline number here is 6.25. If mortgage rates go down to 6.25, I think you're going to see quite a different market come January, February. I definitely think, even though these numbers are going to report, because these are delayed, the numbers are going to report differently over those months. So yeah. But if it gets down to 6.25, folks, and you're in the buying market, I just, the buy side of this, you really need to move, because I think you'll have a full-on, there's so much pent-up demand right now that it's just an affordability issue. And once the mortgage rates get down to a level that's just about affordable, I don't think it's that far off yet. So people are saving now, and, they're definitely doing they're making up some money to buy a house. Because I hear it all the time. We have people like ready to buy. It becomes a rate thing. And if you're in the cash end of this business, it's actually probably one of the best. Based on what I'm seeing here, it's actually a very good time to be buying. There's going to be some wiggle room here. Yeah. Yeah. Wiggle room is a relative term. Yes. When you have 100% sale to list price ratio. Wiggle room is definitely, so at the lower end of the market, I wouldn't be surprised it's still, this is not to say that houses don't sell for over list price, they do, It's not to say that houses don't sell at all, because they don't. It's just to say that it's going to be really individualized because of the fact of the low volume of sales here. But we're not talking about. Well, we're going to talk about two numbers, which is pending listings and sold listings.
Yes, the last
That's
numbers.
This is the last numbers.
So yeah, pending sales, month over month, pending sales is down 38%. Year over year, it's up. It's up. It's actually up. Sorry, my bad. Up 38%, and it's down about 2%. What did you say?
Where are you seeing this?
Pending.
It's actually, the pending sales is up not even 0.25% month over month, and 1 point.
Yeah.
You said 22%? I don't even know.
No.
You spit out wrong.
No. Did I? I don't know.
It's okay. No, it's at 38%. So
38%.
38%. That's this is the 0 month. So it's down 1/3%. I would not. That's
Oh,
not.
I didn't. 0.38. 0.38.
Yeah,
Sorry,
38% would have been like.
Yeah.
You would have everybody running for the hills.
Guys, I'm
38%.
sorry.
That's like a 30. That's almost like 1/3 of the market is gone. Now, pending listings are down slightly.
In Island, it was down what? It was like down bad.
Yeah. Pending sales were down 22%.
Yeah, for Staten Island.
That
was the big number last week.
Maybe it was even more than that.
I think it was more than that.
It was 30.
I think it was 32.
32.
Yeah, that sounds like
32.
Right.
Yeah. If the Staten Island, this is where New Jersey's held its own, even over Staten Island a bit. 32%, I think, was the number. Yeah. Pending sales were down in Staten Island.
Crazy amount.
That's 1/3 of the market from a year ago. But prices were stubborn, so I don't think it had much. So while the number, it's not a good harbinger, because what will happen is, like I said, this market's kind of odd. When we talk about the pending sales in New Jersey, just to kind of emphasize that, the sold listings are down 12%.
Yes.
Month over month. No, almost 13%. 13% on the year and 13. So basically, in 1 month's time, basically, the 12% is reflected in just basically 1 month. So, I mean, that's the biggest decrease is probably October. So it's substantial, like in 1 month's time. Because the total for the year is down 13%. 12% of that happened in 1 month.
Yeah.
So that's like a little bit of a cliff dive. If you're in a plane, you're gonna feel like you're gonna feel it in your stomach. That's basically what you're gonna do. It's like you're gonna feel that's a turbulent drop there, and these are things that I'm telling you now. Someone rang an alarm bell at the Fed that when they had to come out and say that they were lowering rates. The data, oh God, it's just pathetic. That this could be pretty substantial. Who knows in a couple of months? I don't like this.
I don't like this.
Yeah, I don't like when you 13% like 13% year over year and 13% month over month. So basically, in 1 month represents. So you were basically on target for basically a flat market in sales to basically 13% in a span of 30 days, which is that shows you the impact of interest rates. So it's been substantial. It's been substantial. That's a substantial drop. So basically, this is December. So November basically was the height of that. So I could see, New Jersey things basically closed 30 days, 45 days. That's where you see the drop. I mean, it's gonna be. But I'm gonna say this: you shouldn't fret over that either, because if those rates get down to 6.25%. That report will not come out till a month after it's happened, and I do think the Fed's position here is that they're gonna. I'm sure this has a lot to do with it. The Fed is really pushing for a soft landing, and by these numbers, somebody must have grabbed somebody on the phone and said, "This isn't good," and if you expect not to fall into recession territory, this would definitely be a harbinger for it if it did. So I don't like the 12%. number at all
No.
as a closed sales, and not really happening over a span of months. So there's been a dramatic change in this home sold rate. So if you're out there, and like I said, I'm not. This is not to like, nobody should be like, oh, this is a terrible market to do anything. All the other parameters seem to be in line, because I still think the one thing that points out in here is that inventory, the amount of new listings is down 22%. There's going to be an inventory constraint no matter how you push it. So I don't see anything, that being the main key here. So the key is that 22% in the new listings in 1 month over month, month over month difference is pretty substantial. I mean, that's just as substantial as the sold listings. So it's still down, even though the amount of sold listings are down. That's almost, sold listings may be down by 12% as compared to 22%. There's half the amount of new listings. So you're not really getting a choice. The pressure squeeze is on because there's less houses even than there are pending sold listings on the market. So there's going to be less houses for sale, even though less houses will be selling. So where I see it is that, you know, the kind of market remains in this kind of like tight squeeze, which way we're going to go, you know. And I think that's where we're going to really take the next look is the December. This is for November, actually. So
Yeah.
we're given the December stats. These are November numbers. We're going to look at the stats moving into next month. And I think, and I'd be cautious, because I don't think people are going to, the reports that probably on the news is going to be, oh, it's a dramatic shift in real estate. And I think it's going to be what happened in these last couple of months. And then by the time the thaw happens, it's already going to be out of that phase. Because with rates coming down, I do think interest in buying a home, not interest rates, interest is going to peak. It's going to start peaking up again. I'm not going to say peak. It's going to peak up again. The question really comes is that does the topsy-turviness of this market for the next month really change anything much with home prices? Because we can get a move to the upside, and like if the volume still is not high, you know, it can create like kind of a bell curve kind of situation where rates come down a little bit, home prices increase, but the momentum of the market will not let that proceed to raise prices much more. So that's where it gets interesting, and that's why it's healthy to pay attention and deal with people who understand markets. So when you put your house in the market, you don't wind up saying, oh my goodness, what's going on? And we're going to be doing, you know, spitting out more data, you know, based on some of the stuff we're working on. So you'll be getting even more advanced notice on where the markets are heading. So let's see where this goes, and we'll see you next month. I will see you Friday. We are preparing for the Prodigy party tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes, and it should be some.
You'll see some content from us.
Yes, definitely see some content from us. Definitely, it's always fun.
Yeah.
The limbo stick thing, I still got to figure that out. I think JoJo's got to grab the limbo sticks from somewhere.
All right.
JoJo, if you're watching, get the limbo stick ready.
I think she'll have one.
Yeah, she'll definitely come up with something. But anyway, that's what our report for today. We'll see you next month, and I will see you Friday. Friday, if I'm all together.
We'll see.
We'll see. All right, guys, have a great night. We'll see you. I'll see you Friday.
Yes, and I'll
Bye-bye.
see you next month. Good night.